Hi everybody, this is the Baseball HUD, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the People's Champion. Your host, HUD, and welcome back to another visit to the insane asylum known as WFAN.
They're coming to take me away, ha-ha, they're coming to take me away, ho-ho, hee-hee, ha-ha, to the funny fun.
And welcome back to the Baseball HUD 3, and hopefully you like this video. And hit that subscribe button again. We're going to come back here and talk about WFAN, and probably the biggest dimwit at the fan, that's Joe Beningo. Now, Joe Beningo he always has this very peculiar habit of says, you better not do this, you better not do that. Always making these threatening comments. You better not trade Francisco Lindor. You better not do this. You better not do that. That is the mantra of a mental patient. You better not put me in that home. You better not give me that medication. And here we are again. Now, I would mention, and of course, talk about it a little bit. People have been writing to me. I love the comments. But I find it interesting when people write to your host and say, I can't talk about WFAN. I can't talk about the media. And they're the media. I mean, I'm doing these videos. I got like thousands and thousands and thousands of views on these videos. And people are really enjoying them. And I'm going to keep doing them. But I think it's interesting that the grumpy, old, 10-year-plus accounts on YouTube are always the ones that attack the content creator because they have nothing else to refute. Whenever I have something to say, they always attack my sub count. They attack the views on the video. All I need is one person to watch the video to get it to spread. I would mention, I very rarely say this, please share the video. And this is not anti-WFAN. This is just my observations on a radio station that has no competition in the market in New York. And they've been number one. They're the number one radio sports station in the country. So I'm not allowed to talk about it. I'm not allowed to talk about the personalities there. Come on. What is this, censorship? People come in and they want to censor me all the time. I would mention that this is the Baseball HUD 3, which means there's two other versions of what I do here. One is the main channel. I discuss 99% of the time the Mets. Then there's this general channel, which is all baseball and the media. A little bit of WFAN. I did a lot of WFAN stuff there. This is the media. Now, WFAN has dominated the last few weeks because of the whole thing that happened with Craig Carton coming back and basically reshuffling the entire lineup on the fan. That is very unusual for one person to basically turn over everybody. And not only that, but update people are getting let go. On the air, people are getting let go. And people behind the scenes, I guess, are getting let go during all this. So you can't tell me that this isn't something to talk about. This isn't something to discuss. And what's funny is they don't like it. And the people that write to me don't like it. Also, I'll mention this as well. I have 7,000 followers on Facebook. So I have an interestingly large following on YouTube and on Facebook. Facebook's primarily the Mets history, baseball cards, very, very general. But I have people know me. They know what I do. They don't know me. I don't want anybody knowing me, But people do know what I do here. I do have an effect. And this is what we do here. And this is what I like doing. I'm going to keep doing it. That's not stopping. And your host doesn't want any... And I will say, I don't want any of these guys to leave. I don't want them to leave. I'll say like that Joe Beningo should retire, but if he leaves, I have no content with him. At least with him, anyway. WFAN always give me something because they say stupid things. But speaking of which, like I said, he was on the fan the other day on one of the last afternoon drive shows for Uneven Evan and his husband Tiki Barber. And he completely had a meltdown about the Mets trading Jeff McNeil. Since 2023, give you a couple of interesting stats. Jeff McNeil, I looked this up to get out the math, he's hit 252 since 2023. 252, folks. And his OPS for those 3 years averaged out to about 101. 2 of those years was under 100, 2023 and 2024. This past year was above 100, which means he was above average. He's 1% above average. So the Mets did not give up a lot with him. He really regressed as a player. I don't know what happened with him. I don't know if it's because of the contract. He lost a little bit of his oomph. I also think that his not figuring out what kind of player he is as an offensive player, I think that really affected him. But anyway, he had this meltdown. Beningo had this meltdown, saying, amongst many things, like I said, you've been in that trade Lindor. I didn't want David Stearns here. He's a Midwest guy. He's this, he's that. He's going to run the Mets like the Milwaukee Brewers. I would mention, again, Milwaukee Brewers are always in first place. They're always contending. They always have good teams. How is baseball different? If you're good in the Midwest, folks, how are you good in the Midwest, but you're not going to be good in the big market? If baseball is the same, how is it different? Well, we want stars here. That doesn't make any sense. If you play well, you'll have a star. And the Mets have stars on this team, by the way. Still. This guy behind me is one of the biggest stars in the game. He might be the third best player in the game. And I expect the Mets to be good. I'll have a video on the Baseball Hut where Jeff Passan is telling people online that he expects the Mets to make a big move soon. So keep that in mind. But this guy, Beningo, says a lot of stupid things. He's making threatening comments about Steve Cohen, saying that he's sold us a bill of goods for the last 5 years. Keep spending money, Uncle Stevie. That's what he kept saying. Spend money, spend money, spend money. But when the result is not great, why do you keep spending the money? That doesn't make any sense. So now, I guess Cohen has basically let Stearns run the team, and all these players are gone. Pete Alonso's gone. Diaz is gone. I wouldn't mention, they both went for more money. And they opted out of contracts they have with the Mets. Brandon Nimmo they traded, which was a big surprise to me, host, because of the amount of years he had. Jeff McNeil was not surprising. The Mets been trying to move him for over a year. So that was not a surprise. And again, what's not surprising is the stupidity from this particular host. And like I said in a previous video, I am not a fan of this one host. This is the one host I do not like. Okay. I think a lot of it is an act. The whole bro stuff, bro shit. I don't want to be your bro. What's that line from Gran Torino? I don't want to be his bro. And nobody else does either. I mean, I don't want to say it. But anyway, so he said something really ridiculous when the Mets season was over. And I would mention, again, the 2025 New York Mets did not have one comeback in the ninth inning when they were behind in the game. I know they blew a lot of games, that bullpen. Pitching was terrible. But you need your offense to hit in the ninth inning sometimes to win a game, pull a game out. The 1993 Mets had comebacks, folks. The 2004 Mets had comebacks. These are really bad Met teams. The 2013 Mets had comebacks. But the 2025 Mets didn't have one comeback. If they had one comeback, they would have went to postseason. They did not do that. Okay? And I would mention, also, just now I'm thinking about it. In 2022, they won 101 games. In 2024, they won 89 games. In 2025, they won 83 games. So there's a regression with this group. And I look at this team as a group. I don't care what the numbers are. I mean, Brandon Nimmo had 9 RBIs in one game. So a lot of players will have big games. And here's the thing. All these guys had great years, but why didn't they go to postseason? And the Mets their pitching wasn't that bad until June. But everything doesn't work. When you don't win, the team doesn't win. So when part of your team doesn't do well, your team loses, right? It's a collective issue that was a problem here. And it was coming and going with a lack of offense, bad bullpen, bad pitching, and they didn't make it. But let me read you something that's really stupid and really ridiculous, again, from so-called, well, let me get into this. This is from YankeesGoYard.com. Headline, WFAN legend, patient, fuels Pete Alonso to the Yankees rumors ahead of the tumultuous Mets offseason. Now, let me ask you folks something. Did they do that? Did that happen? No. Did that happen? No. In fact, the Yankees have done absolutely nothing. The Yankees have done nothing. They signed Paul Blackburn, Ahmed Rosario, Zach Short. And Cody Bellinger is still out there. If Pete Alonso had an impossible time landing anything approaching what he wanted from the New York Mets last offseason, think about how harder It'll be this year. Well, it didn't take him long, and he signed with the Orioles. Alonso, a homegrown franchise player. He's the all-time home run leader. He's somehow. How is he somehow? He hit more home runs in less time than Darryl Strawberry did. This is a Yankee scumbag writer. He's the kind of player Steve Cohen can afford to splurge on, then bury if the contract goes sour. Steve Cohen has buried the contract money. Okay, it's not your money though. But David Stearns, the man he hired to oversee operations, doesn't play in that pool. Instead of signing Blake Snell, who was hurt last year, or sacrificing the farm for Garrett Crochet, which you don't do, he made two high payments to a number of wildcards, Shomanaya, Frankie Montas. I thought Frankie Montas was a disaster from the beginning. And Minaya had to be a little bit careful because he did have a history of not pitching well. And that's going to burn him. While skimping out post Soto, Stearns dragged his feet so hard on Alonso that he accidentally helped dig up the casino construction site next door. Terrible. That's the whole thing. The whole thing with the casino is giving them reason to complain. And that's why iconic, if there's anyone that's an icon, it's Craig Harden. WFAN host Joe Beningo thinks the Yankees could be lurking. Okay, let me read you this. Amidst the Yankees' defection makes all the sense in the world when the team in Flushing has offended you so greatly that you'd like to find the neatest part of the back to stab. It's all about money, okay, with these players. That's the one thing I notice about a lot of fans is they never put any emphasis on the players. The individual that go for more money, just like you would. Just like I would. Quote, the Yankees need a first baseman, Beningo notes. And if you tell me they won't go after Pete, you're out of your mind. Well, you're out of your mind because they didn't do that. You dim bulb. Fish bulb. That never happened. That didn't happen. That did not happen. So he basically mocked himself. But here's the thing. All these things get memory hold. People forget about it. And people forget about it and they move on. You know. But your host's not going to forget about this. I got so much stuff on these people that I've been digging through. The spat between Boomer and Carton, we'll bring that up at some point, probably the new year. But this didn't happen. But this is the kind of stuff they spew. They just talk. And Beningo, like I said, he's a dimble. I mean, he's probably the slowest intellectually that's been at WFAN. And I felt this way for 30 years. I felt this way when he was doing the overnight. This guy's an idiot. This guy's a moron. You know, and like I said, Imus and those guys in the morning used to make fun of him. Said he was the kind of guy that would scream that the Jets are going all the way when he was like if he was on death row. The last thing he would say. He's that crazy. You know, I'm not saying this. I would never say that, but they said that about him. And who would know you better than the people you work with? Now, I'm not a fan of his, and I never will be. I hope he never retires. Although I think he's a jinx, like that guy from the Bronx Tale. You know, I think he's a major jinx. For all his teams. I think he's a jinx for the Jets. We'll see what happens with the Knicks. Once he starts doing stuff on the Knicks, you know the Knicks are going to lose. You know it. And the Knicks, I would say, on Christmas, they look great. They looked awesome on Christmas. He's going to blow it. He's going to stop bragging about it, and they're going to blow it somehow. He's got to retire just so that these teams can win. Same thing goes for the Jets. And I would mention this. He's a terrible fan because there was a game a few years ago between the Jets and the Giants, and he left before the game was over. The Jets wound up winning late in that game, and he looked like a fool. And he was dancing out in the parking lot. What kind of fan is that? He gives up too quick. He complains a lot. He is like the 1990s version of Frank Fleming. But the difference is he graduated from radio school, from broadcasting school. You know. Now again, if you want to write to me, fine. But for all you 10+ year accounts that come and attack your very humble host, I'll send you off to the Phantom Zone without even thinking about it. And a lot of the accounts that have been attacking your hosts are accounts that I've seen before that constantly defend WFAN and don't like your host. I have an opinion. You don't have to watch, you know. Just like I don't have to read comments. I don't have to leave comments up. Simple as that. And of course, this is another visit to the insane asylum with all the people defending them. I mean, really, the people defending them they're like girlfriends defending, these people that are in prison. And of course, this is the insane asylum, the nervous hospital known as WFAN.
They're coming to take me away, ha ha. They're coming to take me away, ho ho, hee hee, ha ha, to the funny fun.